What's up, guys? I'm Dominic Young, and welcome back to the Curtain Up Podcast. Today I have with me Amy Tran, Christie Pierre-Louis, Sade Bassan, and Talia Evans. and today we're talking about the tech side of theater, the unheard side of it, if you will. Um, so who has a fun story about tech? Something. Let's start with something that went wrong during a show.
During a show.
Yeah,
Okay.
during a show. Does anyone have anything that comes to mind?
Last fall, the Gulf Coast production, The Man Who Came to Dinner,
All
it was
right.
basically, the set was like your typical house. Like, you have like a staircase, you have rooms, you have walls, you have doors for entries and exits. I think this was the last show, but towards the end of the second act, the door just completely fell apart off its hinge while like people were obviously on stage. And
Wait, how did
one of
it
the
fall apart? Did it
actors,
just like fall out of the frame?
I want to say yes. The only thing I can recall from that is Zach Price, the director's husband, had to come backstage and hold the door up for the rest of the show.
How I remember that. I remember you telling me to go check on the door while like the show was going on. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. And I left, and then it like broke. And then I was like, what is that doing? And then
it was your fault.
So was it just like on the floor for a bit, or did it like crumble into pieces?
Like off the two hinges, it like fell off of the top one.
So
So it was like hanging.
Yeah, and so one of the actors had to make her exit through the door. And so she kept trying to close it on her way out, and it was just not happening. And I think the audience thought it was a bit for a moment, until like 7 minutes later, she still couldn't close the door, and she just left it there.
Oh, yeah, when things go wrong in a show, you just have to make it into a bit. Like this one time in She Loves Me, where we're opening Act 2, and this actress, Denia, was playing a nurse, and her role in it was just to, like, feed soup and then leave. And so as she was leaving, I opened the door for her, and her hat falls off, like, center stage, and I have to grab it and run after her backstage and just be like, ma'am, you dropped your hat, because that was, like, in my character, and it was just a funny bit.
Oh my god, I think I saw that show.
Yeah, that was the night that you all came. Yeah.
Didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
You did do that.
Yeah.
There was also, okay, so at the Naples Players this past summer, they did Mamma Mia. During a production early in July, I'm pretty sure, there was one night where all the headsets backstage just went down. And so it was during like Lay All Your Love. And so there's like 5 of us up in the flies to do the curtain transition into the next scene. And our SM, Cole, he was like, okay, like, flies on standby. And we're all like answering like, yes, we're on standby. And he's like, I really can't hear all of y'all, so I really hope you're gonna go when I say go. And you're like, oh, okay, so he cannot hear us. And then all of our spots couldn't hear Cole, and I was like, oh, so they can't hear either. And the rest of the flies that didn't have like a wireless headset couldn't hear Cole either. And I was like, okay, so the only people who can hear Cole are the 3 ASMs walking around.
That's awesome.
So we had to spend the rest of the first act calling. So like, Cole would give us the fly cues, and I'd be up in the flies giving the fly cues to everyone up in the flies. Our intern for the summer, Justin, he was up with the spots giving them their cues, and Jules was on the ground making sure all of that was still happening. And then by the second act, we were just all in walkie-talkies for the rest of the show.
And then you dragged me out of the green room when I wasn't working the show at all. And you made... So that was
correct. And you willingly said yes and agreed to help.
I guess.
When the headsets go down, just use walkie-talkies. That's how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. Talia, for those who don't know, Talia works in costumes. What was like one of the hardest costumes to like make or like put together
Literally,
or
just conforming to Armin's body is probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
all right,
Dude,
for context,
every
Armin
show.
Prokachy's like 6'3", just a massive dude, awesome guy, super talented, and he was
Playing
playing
Edna.
in Hairspray, so she had to put on a
No, literally
woman's suit.
every single night, every show, he had a different costume. Because I was like, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And Miss Price was like, let's change it. And I was like, okay, we're doing that.
It came out great though. I mean,
Yeah, he always killed it. Oh, and that
Mhm.
quick change in Welcome to the 60s.
Oh yeah.
It was always like, are we gonna make it today?
I remember backstage during Run and Tell That, he was like, they needed more guys, so they put him in. And he was in the scene after as Edna. So backstage, we literally stuffing his tights with
Edna
like,
and
the
Corny
fluff
Collins
on
were in the
pillows.
dance break, and they wore dark sunglasses and jeans.
We were like, that'll disguise them. Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ended up working out.
yeah, the audience was fooled.
Yep. Hairspray was a
See.
great time.
True.
It
Speaking
was.
of Hairspray, so we had I can't really say like props person, but like a props person, intern, shadow, whatever you want to call her. Basically, we kind of left a portion of the art department to build the hairspray can that Edna is supposed to come out of at the end of the show. And the day before opening, we went out to just to like check on it, see how far along they'd get. And first of all, they built this entire thing out of, they called it anime foam. I want to say it was just regular foam. I didn't think
was
there was
anime
a difference.
Anime foam. What is it?
She was
I
like,
don't
I do
think there's a difference.
cosplay.
What is the difference between normal foam and anime foam?
Would love to know. I didn't realize that they needed foam for anime, but okay.
All right.
And they're like slobbing this thing in like paint, and I was like, I don't know if y'all know this, but it will absorb it like a sponge. And they're out here using like gallons of our paint, and like half of it's on the floor in the courtyard. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, don't worry, we'll get this done by your opening. And it turns out they also thought our opening was the next day after it. And I was like, you do realize it's tomorrow, right? They were like, oh, it'll be done, I promise. And in my head, I was like, this is definitely not going to get done. So it was like a group of us, like me, Sade, Cora. I'm pretty sure there were other people, but we spent
I think
the
Lisa
entire...
was there too.
Yeah, Lisa was there.
Oh
I
my
left.
god. Was that also
Callie
the
was
night
like,
that
I'm
Sade
gone.
had to learn all of Hairspray?
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the day after. So like that whole week, not the best.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
context,
we had a cast
somebody
member.
dropped out of the show, and
During
Sade,
Tech Week.
yeah, during Tech Week, and Sade had to jump in and learn all of that person's parts in, what were they called? Dynamos? Or Dynamites? I'm sorry, I was thinking Mamma Mia, Donna and the Dynamos. It just popped in my head. Too many. All right, the Dynamites. She had to fill in for one of the Dynamites, and she killed it, and she ended up getting a Broadway Star of the Future nomination for her performance in it. So,
Mind you, she was like an assistant stage manager. It's not like she was an understudy for anyone through the show.
Or even in the show at all.
yeah.
I was not in the show whatsoever.
No dance.
What times?
Yeah, it
But
really
I don't know if you
was.
finished the story, but we basically stayed up so like barely like 2 hours of sleep maybe, and drove this thing over to Gulf Coast like for first period, and managed to get it on wheels. And Miss Price was like, "Yes!" And I was like, "I haven't slept."
Yes, did not go to class that day. Spent the entire time getting that thing up.
It was, oh my god.
The other girl was definitely offended we didn't use hers. But when I tell you, it was like concaved in, like it wasn't a can anymore. And the paint was still wet. And I was like, girl, we are not using this. Sorry to disappoint.
Well, regardless, that can ended up looking awesome.
True. Thank you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh my god. Speaking of dropping during Tech Week.
Boost.
So my sophomore year, we did Seussical for the musical. And I originally was the ASM for that show. And I don't remember what, it might have been like second dress or something. But basically, like, all of our, like, lead production designers just, like, dropped. Like, our stage manager dropped, our technical director dropped, our lighting designer dropped. They were like, you do realize you're up next in charge to, like, stage manage. And I was like, excuse me?
Is this during
What?
Tech Week?
Yeah, and so I'm here, like, learning how to, like, SM, like, off the top of my head, like, from God knows where. And I'm, like, freaking out entirely because we also had 2 weekends of production. So we had, like, 7 shows. And, like, this show was extremely cue heavy. And I'm here learning, how do I call a cue? What is this? What is that? But we did manage to pull it through. We did manage to fix the lighting design, too. That is where I had my first stage manage experience, as well as a little bit of lighting design. And I can say that we did kill that show.
Wait, so you're telling me all these people in tech dropped during Tech Week? Everyone?
Yes. I remember there was one night during tech, we were just everyone, like I know Sam Hayes, he was our sound designer for the time. He passed out because of how much effort he was, like, putting in and, like, making up for other people, like, dropping. And I'm literally, like, looking at him pass out on the floor because all he's consumed for 3 days was, like, Monster.
Oh my god.
And I'm looking at, like, the directors, like, panicking with each other, like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to pretend like I'm not panicking, but I am so clearly panicking.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm here, like, so I have to figure out how to stage manage now. Okay, let's do this. And this is little sophomore me.
So short.
You and Sam really pulled it together.
And the flannels. Oh, funny.
Oh.
Don't be rude.
Such a good look for Amy.
Don't be
Sade,
rude.
weren't you a bird in that show?
Yes, I was a
Why'd
bird.
you say it like that?
A bird.
Weren't you a bird in that show?
Oh. But yes, I was a bird girl. It was the show was so fun, but it was put together so messily. Or I'll say that. It was fun though. It was scary though because our lead also, like, quote unquote dropped, like, during that time, but then he came back and it was just
he had complications and arguments with the music director, and he just said, you know what, I really don't need to do this, peace, bye. And we were all like, excuse me, sir? And I remember not having a good time through that entire thing because I was like, what were they gonna, like, they were going to put the music director's son into this show, and I was like, I don't even know who this child is. What do you mean we're gonna put him as the lead? And days later, our original lead did end up coming back. There was definitely tension in the air, but I definitely took that as I'm gonna ignore the tension and move on with the show.
Yeah, show must go on.
Quite literally, I do not care about your problems right now. I'm moving on with my show.
damn.
Literally.
All right, well, there's a game that Jennifer Price likes to play with her theater classes. It's called the blame game. And her philosophy in it is, well, not her philosophy, but, like, what she finds is that almost all of the time the blame falls on the ASMs. So, Christie, I know you've been an ASM for a few shows. What's, like, the biggest blame you've been put on? I don't know if that's...
The music. Is that
The music.
Okay.
Literally, for Into the Woods, kind of had the worst time of my life. I cried so much because I was just like, I was prepared to be backstage, headset on, bossing people around.
Yeah, and, like,
then
doing an ASM's job.
Yeah. And then this Price comes up to me, and she's like, oh, I think you're going to have to play music for the whole entire show. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And she was like, yeah, you're going to be back by the soundboard and you're going to do the music. And I was like, I really can't do that because I'm just like,
She also, like, she's supposed to be backstage and like that's her job to help maintain, because she knows the show almost as much as I do, like, compared to any other person backstage. Like that's what the ASM is for. But no, let's move her
Yeah,
to do the music.
exactly. And like nothing against
really-
Christy, but like I'm pretty sure you don't have that much music experience, and this is Into the Woods,
Oh, like
Stephen
none at all. None
Sondheim.
at all.
Oh, the music for
I
that
have
show
never.
was difficult, but we pulled through, per
Yeah.
usual.
The tech for that show, literally, I remember going up to the light board like the first day of tech week, and Emma Upson was by the board, and I was like, "Oh, can you do this?" Because she was one of my costume shadows, and she was like, "Actually, I'm working the board," and I was like, "Wait,
Huh? Yeah, I still have a burn mark on my arm from a hot glue gun when I was making one of the trees.
Literally.
that
Oh,
whole set."
that was a project.
By
This-
far the
Yeah, that-
hardest set I've had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that was the set that took the most amount of work to build.
Built at my house, also.
Literally.
yeah.
Consistently.
We were at Talia.
Say that again, Sade?
That was like the hardest set to like student build, because even like my freshman year, like Masari would like take care of all the building aspects of
Oh yes. Technical directing was definitely like his specialty.
Yeah, so he like built everything and we just like had to paint it. But like this, like I've never used a drill before this, and now it's like my best friend, and I've never spent more time building
Yeah.
something in my life.
Yes.
My intro to
I feel
tech was for Footloose. Never like really worked a drill before, and then I was just trying to help Amy build the set, and she had this big plan for it, but she had no clue what she was doing at all.
Okay, be rude again. We did teach you have to use a drill. Don't be rude.
Anyway,
It was
We-
Miss Price wanted this big old elaborate bridge. She would, like during our first production meeting, she was just like, I don't know how this is gonna get done. I don't know who's gonna build it, but what I want is like this giant bridge unit. And I was like, okay, if that's what you want, like if that's what the director wants, we'll give it to her. I was like, I also don't know how we're gonna do this, but I promise you by the end of this show, you will have a bridge.
Yep.
And I get to one of the classes and I was like, so what are we working with? And she pulls out these two benches that we used from a previous show, and they're like maybe 1.5 feet wide. And I was like, oh, cool. All right. This is what we're working with. This is what we're working with. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we pulled Dominic and a few other kids from like her 6th and 7th period classes, and just be like, hey,
We gotta build
take
this
apart? Can
thing.
you put it back in?
Yeah.
And Dominic's
Taking-
like, yeah, he was like, I'll do that.
Take
And
a
just
stage
kinda
manager in the
help
lead of the
everybody.
show, and that's how you get a set. That's
Pretty
how that one
much.
worked.
It was a pretty dope set, I'm not gonna lie.
It really was. I was really proud of it, how it came together.
Yeah, we built an 8-foot unit that
Yeah.
sturdily held people up.
It stood like 26 feet tall. That's not the right number. That's not the right number.
I was gonna say I am not that good at
I was like,
math,
that seems a
and
little
I know
tall.
That was wrong.
No, because it was
And I don't-
no, it wasn't 26. It was 16. I had added 10 for some reason. It was 16
That
because
was
the bottom.
very far off.
Yeah, that was very far off. The bottom was 8 feet tall, and the top of it was 8 feet tall because we took two 8-foot 2x4s.
Yeah, there was literally a day where everyone, like Gulf Coast, had an audition for something. I don't know. It might have been for a cabaret or something.
It was definitely for a
Or-
cabaret.
Because, yeah, it might have been. And Dominic had just finished his thing, and so we were talking about building the thing and we literally sat in the auditorium for like 3 or 4 hours just doing the math for it. And when I say we, I do definitely mean it was me, Dominic, and me commenting on it. But we definitely sat there for a few hours just talking out the math for it.
Yeah,
was
just trying to
literally just
figure
two
out
brains
how
putting
we
this
were
whole
gonna
thing
do
together.
this. Yeah, that was a fun time.
It came out
So
really good.
So between my design and him being able to functionally do math, we did pretty good with that.
Yeah, and anyone who wants to look at photos for it can look on the Gulf Coast Tibia on Instagram and just scroll down until you find the Footloose photos. Ugh.
Yeah. That
Very
just, like,
cute.
of like when we were all at Talia's house, like tower and the tree, Paradin's tree.
Oh,
God.
the tree.
There were so many people who, because me and Sade, we were there a lot of the times because since we don't go to Gulf Coast, like I don't go to Gulf Coast at all, and neither does she because she does dual enrollment. we had the time in like mornings to go over to their house and like work on stuff. We were there a lot, and we would call people for like assistance, like, hey, what do you think is the best route to go about this, to go about the tower, to go about the tree? And they would all give us some lame excuse, like, yeah, just stick with like a ladder, it'll be fine.
So
No, that's so ugly.
I feel
So
like
we
we
were
did
like,
like
you know what, we'll just do this on our own then, since no one wants to give us a cool answer.
okay. I feel like we need like a background of that. So like during that show, we had people to build the set, and we like had set pieces, and then everyone got real. We're like, these look bad, and Amy was like, okay, well, we need a place to do the set, and I like jokingly said, I was like, oh, we can do it at my house. I have a garage. I have tools and all that, and then it was done at my house for like a full week while I was in a different country.
Oh yeah.
Like I wasn't there. My parents were there, and they would text me and be like, the drama kids are here again, and I was like, it's 9:00. What are they doing at my house?
Literally.
Like at your house to greet you coming back. Like,
Oh yeah.
True.
that was funny.
Yeah, there was a lot of time put into that set for that show.
True.
Painting
And it
the
came
whole
out cute.
stage.
It came out really good though.
There was a good solid like 2 or 3 hours where everyone was like, wow, Paradise tree looks like a Minecraft tree.
It did. Because it did.
Me and Amy are visionaries. You just gotta give
me
me rude. You gotta give
I
it
remember-
time.
Even literally Zach said that. He was like, yeah, I could see it as a Minecraft tree.
Zach will do anything to insult me. You kidding me?
Funny. Love him. Zach Frank's theater dad. Yes.
True.
His TikTok.
Oh, so
Oh,
good.
He
the
kept
TikTok.
yelling at Lila to put her shoes on.
Oh, funny.
Oh yeah.
She was just trying to paint, and he was like, "Put some shoes on."
Dang.
Okay, but painting the stage for that?
Oh,
Oh, that was
that was
fun.
so interesting.
With that one day where Miss Price was like, okay, we have to be out by 5. If the stage was not painted, like half of it
Oh
was
my
maybe.
goodness.
And we were like,
It was
doesn't
like-
the show
it was like-
open in like 2 days?
We had been there for like 3 hours, and it wasn't even halfway done. It was like 3:00, and she said, "All right, I have to go somewhere at 5."
Oh, I literally hated that so much because like I was like battling with myself whether to like because like theater's my life. Like I'm going to college for theater so much, and like it was like conflicting with my job hours. And if you know me, if like I don't have a problem with my job. I just don't want to be there when I could be at the theater. You know what I mean? So like
True.
I would get in trouble like,
Understandable.
at work for like missing it for staying at the theater. It was just like I would rather be there and help paint than sell clothes. But hey, what happened?
Banana Republic.
Oh yeah. I've definitely like skipped classes for theater too. Like I
Oh,
just
100%.
Oh, I can't count the amount of times that I've had to talk to a teacher and be like, "Hey, so I have to go do this thing for this show."
Yeah. What was it? I think my junior year, I had Miss Goodwin for my math class.
Oh my God, that's the class
And-
I was talking about too.
I love her. Laura, she's so funny.
Miss Goodwin's awesome.
It was me and my friend Lamaya. We had that class together, and we would always be like, hey, Miss Goodwin, so since we're not actually doing anything today, can we just leave? And she was like, are y'all going to theater again? And we were like, yes, ma'am. And she was like, have fun. And
Those
we were like,
classwork
"Thank you."
days. Ugh. She's an awesome teacher. She's one of the teachers that like actually cares about teaching,
Mhm.
and you can tell
did go
like
into
if
her
you sit in her
class.
class. Yeah, Talia came in because of her
My teacher was
teacher's
absent for a
absence.
week, and he didn't put out any plans, so a bunch of us went into her class that was already full.
Was it Rockhold?
Yep.
Yeah, Rockhold left for a little bit, so everyone had to come into Goodwin's class if they wanted to learn math.
And literally me and Jillian, who also was in my class, we like went and we were like, this is so much better. What if we just switched in? And then Corona happened, so
Yeah.
man.
those plans ended.
Yeah, a lot of plans ended, but
No,
the show must go
Treasure
on.
Island ended.
So sad Treasure Island ended.
Yeah, it would have been
You're
really.
sad?
Treasure Island would have been really good.
Yeah, it would have been
True.
really good.
The British accents kind of would have slapped.
Oh yeah, completely.
True.
The pirates. I would have laughed. So good.
Oh, everyone is a pirate.
Yeah, and it was such a good potential for a lot of people. It was a lot of their like first time like auditioning for the show, getting in. A lot of them were like already progressing in like the few weeks that we had rehearsal, and you could tell like they all like felt a lot more comfortable being in the space. And it just sucks that like they don't really have that anymore, and like I don't really know what's happening with like the next cabaret or anything. Like we don't really know what's happening with like going back to school or anything like that, and it just really sucks like that this is how a lot of their first experiences went. But I really hope they stick around.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of to be announced things right now, but we're gonna keep it going. The cabaret is still scheduled to go on, which is good. Um, yeah, it's just unfortunate what happened.
I think like why I decided to like start tech in the. At first, I started, and then I went to the tech side of it, just because I wanted to like immerse like different aspects.
Sade,
of
can you
theater.
say that again? You were cutting out.
I said that's why I think I started doing tech in the first place. I just loved seeing people grow, and I also loved like helping every aspect of like a show get to like as good as it could be. Just because like just being a part of like something that has the potential to be so good, and like knowing that and like that for me that's like so rewarding, and that's why I enjoy like ASMing. Why I took stage manager classes like that. And I also love performing, like don't get me wrong. There's just like this love of like ASMing and like doing like tech that I also have. So I just like to see people grow and be a part of like something that would be so amazing, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. You have
When
a
I
love
think
for
of
like every aspect of it.
when I think of like the best times of me ASMing, I literally think of Frozen and how like I got like so like close to these kids, and I was just like thinking about how much like they made my life like that much better. Like I wasn't just doing schoolwork and I wasn't just doing like homework. I was like I got to go and see kids come to life on stage, and I was like, wow, this is like amazing. This is great. Tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the education programs that like are available near us, it's really great to see little kids grow. Like when I taught a first act class at the Naples Players, and like seeing how far kids can come with just a little bit of exposure to theater, it's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that they moved their classes virtually, because a lot of their parents were saying like, oh, like my kid is so happy seeing like he can see all of his friends again, like even if it's just through a computer, and that they're still doing all the theater classes, and it's really cool that they're still doing stuff like that,
Yeah,
especially in the time
I
we're in.
think it's great. They aren't giving up. They want to keep helping the community, which is really great. And it's a big help to a lot of people who don't really have much to do. So if you don't have much to do, those listening,
Oh
check
my.
out the Naples Players because they have stuff for people of all ages. Little shout out and
Yeah,
plug in
they've
for
got improv
TNP.
classes, they've got classes for special needs, they've got their Kids Act program.
Hmm.
Also
You'll
check
find something for yourself.
Instagram account. We be posting all the time.
There's workshops this week.
There
True.
are workshops.
True.
Yeah.
Very fun.
So
Wednesday and Friday.
it's just nice to see that good things are coming out of like this time where not a lot of good things are happening. Like this podcast. I hope people are enjoying
Oh,
listening
fun.
to it. All right, well, I think that's time for us folks. So we upload every week and we'll have different topics. If you have an idea for anything you want to hear myself or any of my guests talk about, leave it in the comments or DM GC Tiburon Drama on Instagram. I want to thank Amy, Christie, Sade, and Talia for being guests.
Thank you for having
Truly
us.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Of
so fun.
course, anytime. It was
So
a
fun.
ton of fun. As soon as we got our voice chat platform to work.
So much work.
Took like 30 minutes to an hour, but it's all good. We had fun. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.